Now we get into our tight end section. Che, who have you got?
Oh, I've got a returning guy, a returning beast of a tight end, and that's Dallas Goedert for the Philadelphia Eagles, tight end for the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, what's interesting is that when it comes to top tight ends, in terms of snaps, we've got the usual crew, but Goddard isn't going to lead in that because he's been out for the last 6 weeks roughly. But when you look at top tight ends in targets, he's also not there because he's been out. However, when you look at top tight ends when it comes to touchdowns, he's joint fifth. Now we know that essentially he's been out for so long that these other guys have caught up. Kelsey being a runaway leader, but the likes of Hockenson and I believe past Hockenson and Andrews, he's joined with the likes of Freiermuth, Everett, Higby, I believe, and Engram, who's just starting to have a late season surge. But what's interesting about Goddard is that he's averaging 12.7 yards per reception. And where he's a red zone target, that means then that most of his targets lead to beyond first downs, which is a crazy stat when you think about it. He's always going over the 12-yard mark. The only risk factor is that if will Jalen Hurts play? Because whilst Gardner Minshew is a decent backup, I just think that I don't know how many reps he's had with Goddard. Who knows? He may have been having the reps with Goddard where he's been playing a backup Minshew, and Goddard's been trying to rehab that injury that he's had. And in terms of getting the reps and getting the rust off of his pass catching and his route running. However, I think that if Jalen Hurts plays this Sunday, I think there's a bit of gamesmanship there going on. It's a certainty to go with Goddard. I think there's a risk with Goddard, slight minor risk with Goddard as far as if Gardner Minshew plays. Although I think Goddard has got more of a chance of getting more targets simply because backups tend to do well with backups. And even though Goddard's not a backup, he's been acting as a backup by default due to his injury. Because of that, I think that Goddard has a lot of big playability as well. He was averaging 4.3 receptions. Dallas are also allowing about 14.2 points to tight ends. I beg your pardon. Dallas allowed 14.2 points to Evan Ingram last week, who absolutely torched them. And we know that the Philadelphia Eagles have many weapons, both on the ground and in the passing game, which will mean that Dallas Goedert will almost never get double covered, but also he will be able to not get the number one corner assignment in Trayvon Diggs and company. And so because of that, I'm rolling with Dallas Goedert, tight end for the Philadelphia Eagles as my must start of week 16.
Excellent pick, Che. Goddard's just coming off IR, so he should be primed and ready for this primetime matchup against Dallas. But this week, I've actually gone with a very highly valued and highly recognized rookie this year, Chigoziem Okonkwo, as he faces off against Houston this week in a must-win game for the Titans as they try and get their way into the playoffs. Since coming into the team, Okonkwo has actually had 3 straight games of double-digit fantasy points. Now, if anyone who kind of knows fantasy football, that situation, that stat for a tight end is absolutely golden. And just for effect, the only tight ends that have actually been able to achieve it this season are Zach Ertz, Travis Kelsey, Tyler Higby, and Dallas Goedert. Okonkwo has then managed to carve himself into a primary role into this Titans offense. So unlike most kind of players, he's managed to find his way in terms of targets and volume. Now, this week, he's facing against the Houston Texans, who actually give up the 10th most to the Titan position. So with Treylon Burks unlikely to play this week as he's recovering from a concussion, and the recent news that quarterback Ryan Tannehill is likely to be out for the season, passing offense is going to be very much concentrated to Derrick Henry and Okonkwo. Okonkwo this week provides so much volume in terms of upside, as well as that touchdown upside as well. So watch him thrive and start him with impunity. He's definitely a must start in the Titan position.
I would have been with you there. And again, in my opinion, he carries a bit of a risk due to the fact that Tannehill more than likely won't play. However, the risk that I think that he's going to have is the fact that the guy that's Tannehill's cover, I forget his name now, he hasn't played very well. It's been mostly Henry. And I just think that with Okonkwo, his involvement in the passing game has been very, very varied, which I believe is a very, very good sign moving forward for a tight end. And I suspect that whilst the Titans thought that Treylon Burks was going to be the AJ Brown of that offense, I think Okonkwo has the body and a speed to be coached up, to have the durability somewhat, to be the leading wide receiver where he could take the hits that the likes of AJ Brown had to take, covering so many different assignments, whilst taking auxiliary blocking assignments where they've got Austin Hooper as their lead primary blocking tight end. And so because of that, I think Okonkwo is an excellent choice. However, there's a big, big, big risk factor to this offense because of the fact that, purely from a personnel standpoint, for the fact that Ryan Tannehill is, as lackluster as he's been this season, is being replaced by the backup quarterback, Malik Willis. That's it. That's his name. Yeah, because he did not throw hardly anything whilst Tannehill was out. And I just think, whilst the Texans are a pretty decent team recently, I think this is a trap game for Tennessee, and they have to be very, very. I think this game is going to be a lot tighter than we think, and I think the Texans have been knocking on the door to be able to actually to have a big win. I think that they might get it this week against the divisional rival Tennessee Titans. So let's see anyway. But Okonkwo is still a solid pick, and I can see. A question for you though, Jenna. Like, what do you think his floor to ceiling is?
It's strange because if you look at him as a player, I mean, stats wise, he's blessed with an elite combination of size. So he's 6'3", 238 pounds, and speed. He's actually ran 4.52 seconds in a 40-yard dash. So he's got the physical attributes to be so much more. So his ceiling could be anything they want him to be. But in terms of fantasy, I mean, he's getting a minimum of 5 targets per game. We know how hard that is to get fantasy football in terms of the tight end position. So in the last 4 games since he's been starting, he's got 5 targets, 6 targets. So he's getting the opportunity. Yes, Tannehill's not going to be playing. And yes, Malik Willis is likely to play. However, in order to beat the Texans, there's going to be a lot of play action because you've got to keep the defense honest. You can't just say, okay, I'm going to play Malik Willis and then I'm going to just let Derrick Henry run around the yard. Yes, that's going to be good, but if you're the defensive coordinator for the Texans, you're going to be like, okay, we're going to stack the box and we're going to ensure that Derrick Henry doesn't beat us because there is no wide receivers. So they're going to be forced to play action a lot. And within that play action scheme, that's going to give Malik Willis some opens to make some simple throws.
In man coverage, right?
Exactly. So someone like Okonkwo will be a big target for him to make that throw, a nice safety blanket for that rookie to be able to go down the field. And obviously they can use Henry as and when they need to. So that's what I'm saying. In terms of Tannehill, yes, it's not great for your starting quarterback not to be there. But I just think because of the size and the speed of Okonkwo and the fact is it is a rookie quarterback, Okonkwo will be that safety blanket that will allow them to move forward. He's not just a big lump. The guy's a playmaker. We saw what he did in the last couple of games. And I think this week is
definitely
primed and ready at home in a must-win game because make no mistake about it, the Jacksonville Jaguars are coming. I think we'll mention that in our featured topics later on, but they are coming. And I think they need to win this game at home, and they're going to need all the playmakers they can, especially with Treylon Burks, which is kind of questionable at the present moment in time, and Tannehill looking like he's going to be trending towards not playing. So they need all the playmakers they can get, and all you want as a fantasy manager when you get a tight end is someone that's going to be involved in the offense. There's nothing worse than a tight end that's on the periphery. So what we do know is, yes, the starting quarterback is not there, but in this instance, we know Okonkwo is going to be as vital to this offense as Derrick Henry is. So in order to move the ball down the field, they're going to need Okonkwo, and that's all you want as a fantasy manager: the opportunity and the volume. And we know the guy's got the talent, so I'm not too worried about the quarterback, and I think he'll flourish this week.
Oh, fair enough. I think that's a solid pick again. But let's see. Tune in, stay tuned. Let's see what happens.
Definitely.
What's up, Team Huddle? Thanks for watching our video. Thanks for listening to our podcast. Please don't forget to click on the subscribe button below and also check out our latest videos on YouTube. Also, you can find us on Twitter. Feel free to tweet us
at @call_huddle.